Hi guys, and welcome back to another fly tying tutorial. The fly you see in the vise is for trout and grayling. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise is a Hanak H480 barbless hook. It's the Jig Champion at size 14. This is finished on a medium wire in black nickel. The bead I've coupled it with is a Diamond Plus at 3.5mm. Now, recently I put a post up about these diamond beads, or the faceted beads if you like, and got a lot of different feedback. Some people were saying it doesn't make any difference. Some people pointed out the bead's a little lighter than the small slot. Others said that in low water the light refracts off the bead and it is more effective, but I'm not so sure. The jury's out for me. Now, as always, I'm going to be using Nano Silk. This is the 6/0 in black from Simplify, and I'm going to just put a little touch of super glue onto the shank of the hook. This just helps the thread adhere to the shank. So I'm just going to get a small bump of thread in behind the bead. It's not necessary, but I just don't like it moving up and down the shank of the hook. Now I'll just remove my waste, and for the tailing of this I'm going to be using some Coq de Leon. This is from Trout line, and this is the Rubion feather. I'll just show you the feather before I strip some fibres from it. It's a nice sort of ginger colour. Exactly what I want for this fly. So I'll take half a dozen or so fibres off. I want the tail to be about the length of the shank of the hook, so I'll just catch it in at the back end. Just check it's okay. That's a little bit longer than I'd like, so I'm just going to ease it back slightly, and I've managed to dislodge my bead, which I'll sort in a minute. I can take that away, reseat my bead, come back up. Obviously didn't build a big enough bump. Bad drills by me. And then I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom of the fly. I'll come in underneath the bend and just give that a little lift to the tail. Okay, for the body of the fly we're going to use some quill. This is a hand selected stripped peacock quill. Again, it's from Trout line, and I do have one out the packet. Now, these ones are particularly long, so what I want to do is get rid of the very thin bit. And before I do that, I'll just dampen the whole thing down with a little saliva. I'll get rid of the thinnest part, and I'm going to tie that on at the end. Now I want my black thread to stand out a little, so I'm going to spin it anti-clockwise. Just flattens it out. And what I want to do is try and get a very small taper into this bug. That'll do. I'll get a few extra turns in behind the bead. Now, before I bring the quill up, there's a couple of ways of doing this. You can bring your quill up, UV resin it for protection, or you can do as I'm about to do here, which is just add a little bit of super glue to your thread. Now, I don't want a big splurge of super glue, so what I'm going to do is come in with a cocktail stick and just use that to spread it around a little. And it will also take off any sort of pooling super glue if you like. So I'll come in with my hackle pliers and I'll just catch that in. Now there is a little bit of a story to this fly if you like. Many years ago I fished the River Don not far from Sheffield with a chap called Clark Coleman, and the river was quite thin where we were, and what he suggested was that we had 5 casts each, and then we would move up the river, each using their own gear, and we weren't sharing a rod. But every time it was my turn to have my 5 casts, within the 5 casts, inevitably, this little fly would bring me a fish to the net. And by the end of it, Clark was having the fly off me, and I dare say he'd gone home and tied up several. So I've just caught that in now, front and back. I can just give it a little pull away. Now, so far so good. Now before I do anything else, I want to just add a little bit of wax. I've got thread. I've added wax. Old age is catching up with me. So, the Thorax cover, I'm going to be using some mirror tinsel. Again, it's from Simplify. This was 1.5 millimeters. And the reason I've added that wax to my thread is it can be quite slippy. So a little bit of wax is just going to help me there. I'm going to just bring that over the top like so. Probably get away with one more turn there. Now, I could just simply dub on my Thorax material, and the Thorax material I'm using is from Trout Stalker. It's a natural squirrel. You can use hare's ear, it gives you the same effect, but I'm not going to dub it on. What I want to do is open up my thread and create a dubbing loop. There's a couple of advantages of doing it this way. It keeps it nice and thin, so you're not creating bulk with a proper dubbing loop, and what you get is a really nice spiky finish. I've just got something else caught up in my dubbing there that I've had to separate it. So it's a great little nymph, this. It probably represents a multitude of different food items within a river system, shrimp and whatnot, and it's just really effective. It's unassuming, and it's fooled many a trout and grayling. Now I say grayling because a lot of people associate this time of year and grayling fishing with squirmy wormies and pink nymphs and stuff, quite a lot of bling, but that's simply not the case. You can do rather well with these drabber patterns. Once they've seen the squirmy a few times, it's time to change over. So I've got my dubbing, you can see I've got that really spiky effect there. I really like that, and when it's wet it comes round as a cloak and looks really effective. So I'm going to bring that over the top, and then a couple of turns in front, and I can come in with my scissors and remove that. Now, before I finish up the whip finish, I'm just going to add a touch of super glue to the thread. Now this isn't entirely necessary, to be honest with you, because the next stage is bringing in some UV resin onto the Thorax cover. So I'll just take that away, but it does hold it into place. That's looking fantastic. So I'll just let you have a look at the top at the moment. So that's what it looks like, and what we're going to do next is add in some resin. Now I'm using the Simplify stuff. As many of you know, my favourite's the old Solaris, but this requires something a little bit firmer. So I'll just get a bit onto a cocktail stick. I'm just twisting it in my hand off camera here to stop it bulbing off, and then what I'm going to do is bring in my UV lamp at the ready, and then what I can do is just pop that on like so. I'll bring the UV lamp over and set it to curing. Now I just want to try and encourage it's too late. It's already started to cure. I did want to encourage a little bit of that resin in towards the slot of the bead here, but it's cured too quickly. Bugger, never mind. Okay, let's turn the light off and we can have a look at what we've got. I'll look first. Yep, that looks spot on, and I'll let you have a look from the side angle. And there we go. It's a nymph that does work whether you're using one of these faceted beads that I've used here or a small slotted bead. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.